Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Richie, and I am riding solo today. An improv show today. I was really getting involved into watching the conclusions of both the NBA and NHL playoff games tonight, and I just had to go live. I was just really stoked about just the competition and the level of play tonight in both Boston and in Las Vegas. Really an excellent sports night, as well as my favorite baseball team, my New York Yankees, continuing on the upswing. They are looking right. Name of the episode is 7 and 7. Judge goes yard again and plays hero. And can the Heat go up 2-0? Well, to answer the question, the Heat most certainly did go up 2-0. Hell of a performance tonight by Jimmy Butler, dropping 27. And Bam Adebayo barely misses a triple-double. He was just an assist short of that. What I was really impressed with this game was just the 18-4 run to end things. I really think that Miami had the calmness of what I expected the home team to have. I felt that in the Celtics case, there were a lot of nerves, the pressure of having to, at minimum, even it up before going to South Beach. This game was competitive, as was game one. This was more competitive than game one, but from a mental and emotional standpoint, I just don't think the Boston Celtics can respond and come back from this. Miami has done a hell of a job at home in these playoffs. And right now, they have everything cooking. They've got Eric Spoelstra, the coach, and I've alluded to this time and time again on different shows, how the fact that you have 7 undrafted players all contributing on that roster is phenomenal in today's NBA, which is driven by big-time free agent signings and just guys with massive NBA resumes. What they are doing, to be honest with you, could ultimately be unprecedented. Only one 8 seed in the history of the Eastern Conference has gone to the finals. That is the 1999 New York Knicks. That wasn't a strike-shortened season. If Miami wins this series, goes to the finals, they are unequivocally the most impressive number 8 seed. And I don't view them as the typical 8 seed. I've said on previous shows that a lot of basketball teams are more worried about the final stretch, getting healthy, doing the things that are necessary to get to the final goal, which is to win a championship. I don't think home court is as emphasized as health and just knowing and believing that you have the roster to get it done. But what Pat Riley has done in Miami, along with Eric Spoelstra, is nothing short of amazing. This is a great organization. And, personal team affiliation aside, I have to applaud these guys. I do have to make a mention of this as well. Grant Williams going nose-to-nose with Jimmy Butler in today's game, for a lot of old school hardwood classic type NBA fans, it definitely gave me the Xavier McDaniel, Michael Jordan vibes from the 92 playoffs, which was a very iconic shot. The two of them jawing at each other after X-Man damn near clothesline, the great one, Michael Jordan. Bulls ultimately won that series in 7 games. But, just one of many iconic shots of basketball in the 90s. I think the Celtics are in big trouble here. I really do. And another interesting tidbit about this game is the 3-point play towards the end of the game. And as Reggie Miller said, literally the worst foul you could commit in a situation like that. Boston at the time was up by 5. Basically just a bailout foul. And, to Miami's credit, the same player, to his credit as well, Gabe Vincent comes back and drains a jumper and basically put it out of reach. This Heat team is for real. This Heat team is focused. And I think they're going to represent the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals to wait on the winner of Denver and LA. And as far as that series goes, talked to a couple of friends about how I see that ultimately playing out. I feel in Denver's case, the crew from TNT said it best. Their head coach and the rally cry in that locker room is respect. While they have been the best team in the NBA all season long, and while They are the 1 seed. I myself didn't pick them to win the finals, nor did my co-host Mike Zappi. I think ultimately they're looking for that respect. 2 hard-fought wins over the Lakers. Uh, and I think it goes without saying that the narrative following game 1, the Lakers' loss, was the Lakers. How they made great adjustments to basically limit Jokic to just 3 points in the second half. Or how even now, game 2, and I myself will admit that I'm looking at the Lakers and how they are competing. They were up 11 at one point. Ultimately, game 3 is pivotal. That goes without saying. Any series where you have a team down 2-0, game 3 is going to be everything. I'm still sticking with my initial prediction, Lakers in 6. I think that championship pedigree is going to show out. I think they're going to square this thing up in Los Angeles. And I think they're going to do what championship teams do, which is steal a game on the road, which would be game 5. And I think they're going to ultimately win this series. And it's kind of crazy to make such a bold statement when the team is actually down 2 in the hole. But I do have a high faith in what the Lakers have built this year. And I do think that in the end, they're going to win this series, but it's going to be excellent. Both game 1 and game 2 were excellent games. And I think, it's kind of like a prize fight when you look at NBA playoff series. They took Denver's best punch. Now we're going to see if the Lakers can match it. And speaking of great punches and just great entertainment, I got to speak on this. This was yesterday's game. The quadruple overtime thriller goes the Panthers' way. Can the Hurricanes respond? Stars and Golden Knights finish game 1 in OT thriller as well. I'm going to start with the East Coast, the Eastern Conference. The Carolina Hurricanes over the course of the last few years have been a phenomenal home team. But what the Florida Panthers have been doing this year, just making the statement to start the playoffs, beating the greatest regular season NHL team of all time in the Boston Bruins, a team that I think everybody had penciled in to make the Stanley Cup Finals and finally break the curse of the President's Trophy. That didn't happen. They beat them in 7 hard-fought games. It is just truly remarkable what this Florida Panthers team has done. And it's crazy that in dual playoffs, NBA and NHL, the Miami teams are both the 8 seed, and they are very close to making history. My New York Rangers, a year removed from these playoffs, was in a similar situation, but in an earlier round, losing a triple overtime game to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Ultimately, the Rangers were able to shake it off, win in 7, coming back from a 3-1 deficit. I am not sure if this can happen here. The more I watch this Florida Panther team play, they just strike me as a team of destiny. They are defying the odds on every level. And this is a team that's only a few years removed from being one of the NHL's best in terms of total points for a season. And to my point about the NBA, I'm going to apply it here too. In hockey as well, the regular season versus the playoffs are 2 completely different animals. And especially it's even more accentuated in hockey, given that the teams that have had the best record, there is literally a drought of them hoisting the cup. I did pick the Carolina Hurricanes to win this series in 7. I'm going to stick with that prediction, but I will say this. If the Hurricanes do not respond and square this thing up, the Panthers have this series. Sewed up, mail it in, they're going to win it. Going to move it along to MLB. My guy, Mr. Aaron Judge, the New York Yankees' current captain, 7 home runs in 7 days. This is a team that I'm going to say roughly about 2 weeks ago, if that, a lot of people had as dead in the water with all the injuries. The Yankees are coming off a very successful series in Toronto, and 2 out of 4 prior to that taken from the Rays, 3 out of 4 against the Blue Jays. I feel that, and I said this on a previous show, the game on Mother's Day really reinvigorated the confidence in the Yankees. It was that series in general, going toe-to-toe with the best team in MLB currently, which is the Tampa Bay Rays. They followed it up with really making a statement at Rogers Center. And that series had a ton of storylines, whether it be the controversy surrounding Aaron Judge, if he was looking for signs, many storylines. Vlad Guerrero has been very boisterous about his disdain for the New York Yankees. It's definitely a rivalry again. It's been a while since the Jays and Yankees has been a true rivalry, but that has come back, and I think it's good for baseball. Whenever you have teams that don't like each other, there's a lot of intensity. It's always a great thing for the sport. But as far as the Yankees go, I feel that they are starting to really hit their stride now after just having some unfortunate luck with a lot of injuries. I think the injection of Harrison Bader into the lineup has just been awesome. Aaron Judge is playing out of his mind right now. He's on another level. And quite frankly, I think Aaron Judge is making a case for another MVP award. Of course, in the American League, there's an MVP in the National as well. That's going to be sold out and decided. It's only May, soon to be June. But the Yankees look like they're finally starting to catch their stride. And the good news for the Yanks, you're going to have a returning Giancarlo Stanton in the next couple of weeks, as well as third baseman Josh Donaldson. And more importantly than even those two players, hard to believe that since they are both former league MVPs, you're going to have Carlos Rodon, who looks like things are trending upwards with his recovery. The latest news I heard from the Yankees, Meredith Marakovitz, is that he does not need another back injection, which means that he might actually start throwing in the near future. And Luis Severino is slated to make his season debut on Sunday in this series with Cincinnati. And I think the biggest thing that I got to give the Yankees right now and just really stress is that their bullpen has been worn out due to the attrition of just being called upon too often, due to the starting pitching not doing enough to put them in better situations. The pitching for the starters just hasn't got far enough into games. But what the Yankees are doing right now, I think, is speaking volumes about just the guts and the grit of this team. Because I'll be the first to admit that if we're back in this conversation up a couple of weeks ago, I did not have the highest faith on my New York Yankees. But right now, things are clicking on all cylinders, and they actually have jumped to third place. For the better part of 3 weeks, they were in last. That is a very competitive AL East. Everyone has a winning record. And it's going to be a dogfight all year long. But I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think the American League East has a phenomenal chance of sending 4 teams to the playoffs, which is just unheard of. Before I get out of here, I just kind of wanted to rip and speak on some of the happenings in sports, which I've already covered today. I wanted to give a shout out to another one of my inspirations. Anybody who follows my show knows that when I started this show and took over this show, rebranded this show, I put out a very heartfelt post about the inspiration that my father was to me and why I love covering sports and just have a profound love for sports. But I want to talk about his dad for a moment. Today is the 20th year anniversary of my grandfather's passing. Actually, yesterday. Currently, it is the 20th now. I'm talking about May 19th. And I just want to tell you a little bit about my grandpa Yogi. This is a guy who was, first and foremost, a great family man, a great role model. But I want to speak about some of his athletic triumphs. Cool little story. My grandfather was actually in, he had an invite from the then New York Giants, who were in the process of moving to the West Coast, talking about baseball giants. And I would say one of the coolest things he ever did in his short minor league career was that he got to meet Willie Mays. As many of you may know, during that era of baseball, a lot of players went overseas because we were at war as a country. And you're talking about the biggest name players like the Joe DiMaggios, the Ted Williams, those kind of players. So, my grandfather was a young man kicking around in the minors. He served his country. He tried to make the show, never quite arrived there. But, in terms of being kind of like a local legend around my way, in terms of my high school, I'm third generation. My grandfather was a phenomenal football player, as well as a phenomenal baseball and basketball player. More importantly, just a great man, someone who had just a profound influence on me, my father, our family. All over my podcast room, I have some photos of him as well as some of iconic sports memorabilia that I've collected over the years. And 20 years removed, I just want to say that I miss you, Grandpa. I appreciate all the life lessons that you bestowed upon me. And I just want to say that it was an honor not only to be your grandson, but let alone just an honor to know you. But 20 years later, Grandpa, I miss you just as much as I did on the day you left. But I know you're in a better place. That's all I got for this evening. I appreciate you guys listening, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I am your host, Richie, and I'm going to be back Sunday and Monday with the crew, and we're going to be diving into more happenings of the NBA playoffs. And let's not forget, guys, we got NFL Cut Day coming up June 1st. There's going to be a lot of big names that are going to be changing addresses. Definitely want to hit on that. And I have a special guest, music related, that's going to be on my show towards the end of the month, shooting for the 31st. I will have details arriving on that in the near future. Until next time, I am your host, Richie. Have a great night, everyone.